Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. So welcome to a webinar on how to get the most out of PrivateBox. So in this webinar, I'll hand over to Gareth shortly, who will take us through the PrivateBox system and talk about some of the settings and how it all works, and also run through some of the different ways different customers can use it to suit their needs. And then we've also got Sarah on the line, and she's our office manager, and she'll go through some frequently asked questions and any questions you might have on the call. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Gareth.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, so my name's Gareth. I'm the managing director here at PrivateBox and also one of the developers. I helped build the system from scratch back in early 2000s with a friend of mine. And yeah, look, I'm going to talk for about 10 to 15 minutes, just do an overview of the system. And if you have any questions as they come up, just feel free to type them into the chat box inside the chat window, and then we'll make sure we get to those at the end. The first thing to really talk about PrivateBox is the thing that is really important that we sell is the address, right? So these are the addresses that we've got at the moment. So we have street addresses in Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch, and we have PO box addresses in Auckland, Hamilton, Tauranga, Wellington, Christchurch, and Queenstown. And the system actually originally was born out of a PO box management system for people who couldn't actually get physically to their PO box. But we found after a while it just got unwieldy, just like managing people's post office boxes with all the keys and things. So we've actually invented our own numbering system, which we call the suite number. So I'm just going to log in here to our demo system, and this will just take us into the inbox. We've imaginatively called our person here Bugs Bunny, and he has a company called Acme Limited. So this is the screen that you'd see once you've received mail at PrivateBox. So the way you receive mail is obviously you have to use your PrivateBox address, right? So there's a couple of ways you can get to this address. You'd actually see it, if you had no mail here, you'd actually see it on the first screen. It would actually come up with your address. Now, after you sign up, there is a verification process that we need to just make sure you are who you are, and your address is actually hidden until that's completed. So you'll find if you've uploaded all your docs during the sign up, that will actually happen really fast. If you didn't, then we'll probably follow you up and just get all that stuff sorted. It's essentially, we just need to see your face and see an ID, and that's normally enough to get you verified. So once you have your address, we normally issue it like this. So this, for this demo, this is our 6 Johnsonville Road address. That's actually where our main office is in Wellington. And this demo account has the address 1234, and that's our box number 1234, or suite number, or apartment number. We can actually load in any kind of prefix here. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the number. So you'd either give this address to anybody who wants to send you stuff, or use it online for your businesses. And then when the mail arrives, you'll obviously get an email, and the mail will appear inside your inbox. So just to have a bit of a quick overview of this, so you will have a list of who the mail's to. You also have, it's actually possible to have multiple mailboxes. So sometimes people have a personal mailbox and a business mailbox, just to separate those things out. And then you have your different folders, which will have different views of the mail. And obviously when you select stuff, you can send it. Parcel Collect, that is when you get it sent to Countdown or Post Shop. And this is updated daily from the actual database from New Zealand Post. So this is pretty accurate. These are all the locations in New Zealand. So this is kind of when you don't actually have somewhere to forward your mail to. This is when you can actually just get it sent to the closest destination. They'll be sent via courier, tracked, and you will get notified when it gets handed over and ready for pickup. You've got scanning. Obviously, that's when we'll open and scan it. You'll get a digital copy, similar to this one here from BNZ. So this is just a test letter that's loading, and what you'll see in a minute when I go through the rules section, you can automate a lot of this stuff. Scan and destroy is very similar to scan, except once it's scanned, it will just be automatically queued for destruction. That's just really handy for mail that you just need a digital copy, like bank statements or stuff that is just having a digital copy is enough. Like we do keep all scanned mail forever, unless you actually explicitly go in here and remove it. So this is just some previous test mail that we've had on this account, but until you actually go in here and explicitly remove it or close your account, we do hold all the digital copies, and that's a free service. We don't charge extra for that. We just think it makes sense in this day and age that you can just keep digital copies of stuff wherever if you want to. And then obviously we've got the destroy function here. Now the destroy function is we have a secure destruction bin on site, and everything gets shredded, cut up into tiny little pieces. I've seen the machine; it's great, and then that actually gets recycled as well. So it's fully recyclable and very secure. We use a company called Iron Mountain for that service. So the next view is going into the mailbox view. Now I'm just using the shortcut link off here. Which is just this little edit link. So, if you're in a different mailbox, you can just click on editing that mailbox. And then you have the different tabs: mailbox, folders, people, company, rules. Now, you can view mailbox, folders, companies, and people, because those are kind of the important stuff from this menu on the right as well. We also have the billing and settings as well, which we will spend a little bit of time talking about, but we'll spend most of our time on the rules section. So Mailbox is just a summary about what you have with PrivateBox and any folders you have. You can create a new mailbox from here, which will be another unique number at any address in New Zealand. And just one note here, actually, you can use, even though the only one address is displayed here, you can actually use any of PrivateBox's addresses. For the same fee. You just have to make sure you include your unique number on the address, and then it will get sorted correctly to your account. And then there's a list of folders, and there's another folder view here. You can add and delete folders here. Folders, even though they look kind of innocuous here, it is an important concept for PrivateBox, because when your mail lands inside a folder, when you choose where it's filed, that's when we decide what actions to take against that mail in terms of automating things. So yeah, it's just a collection, a way to collect your mail in different ways, but it's also it's the way that we decide what automatic rules to apply. So they'll become obvious once we get to the rule screen. People. That's obviously a list of all the people on your account. I just want to say, even though there's like a million fields on this screen, you actually just need a first and last name for a person and a default mailbox. The reason we have all this other stuff is because we do need to verify the identity of the account holder and maybe other trustees or directors or shareholders of a company. And when we do ask for that information, we'll just ask you to come back and fill this in. So it's really optional, all these other things. If it becomes required, we will come back and ask you about it. So let's just add someone else. Who's Bugs Bunny's friend? So let's say Donald Duck, and we'll just add that person. And so we've got another person here, Donald Duck. Now, why it's important to let us know who the extra names are on an account, because if your magic number is missing, your mailbox number, if this is missing for whatever reason, if the sender has left it off, it's quite often for a New Zealand Post redirection to miss that off as well. That if we have the person's name, we have a good chance of actually making sure that the mail can be sorted correctly. If mail comes in and Donald Duck isn't registered on our system, we'll actually just return that mail to sender. So it is important to let us know all the people that would be using your mailbox. The company view is a similar thing for businesses, adding business names here. If you had more than one, you'll be able to remove them as well. You can also add the registered office service here, which is a legal address for your business in New Zealand. You'll only have this view if you actually have a business account or above with PrivateBox. This demo account does, but if you were just on a personal account, it would be only the people screen. And then we just go into the rules. So for each person, you can decide which folder the mail goes to. So if mail arrived for Donald Duck, you could actually go and put him into his own folder, right? A little bit clunky in that you have to go back to folders to say, add a new folder here, like Donald's mail. And then we can go and change Donald's any mail for Donald Duck will get filed to Donald's mail folder. So by default, we don't have any automatic rules set up on your account. You essentially, when we receive mail, you'll get an email notification saying you've got mail, and then that's it, right? So then it's up to you to either log into the system to manually send the mail, or call or email us to place an order. But the way to really extract the maximum value out of PrivateBox is to automate things. So and this is where we can get into two concepts about folder rules and mail forwarding rules. So folder rules, you can say when mail is filed under a folder or is scanned for somebody, you can do different things. So when mail is filed under Donald's mail, we want to scan it. So we added that rule. So that means all the mail will be scanned for any mail that gets filed into that folder automatically. And then we can have another rule to say when mail is scanned for Donald's mail, we are going to, you can auto destroy the letters because it's been scanned, or you can email it. And let's just email it to myself in case anything comes in. And so this is pretty cool. So this means that any mail for Donald that's going to come in will be automatically scanned and emailed to myself. Now, one thing that we did when COVID-19 came out, happened to the world, is we actually enabled something called free automated scanning. So we just put that on just for everybody, just because the mail system became a little bit unreliable. There was a lot of backlogs, and we just found, we just thought it would be a good way for people to actually be able to view their mail and then work out what's important or not. So every account, regardless if it's personal or business, Premium Virtual Office comes with 5 free scans, and there is a page limit. It's quite high. I can't remember if it's 20 or 50 pages, just to make sure that you don't kind of send us a 500-page document and then we kind of scan that for free. That would take us hours. So that's when you've got the different rules, and then that's the main rules here are around scanning and destruction and emailing. Now you've got the actual forwarding rules where you can say that every 2 weeks, every 14 days, all Donald's mail will be forwarded automatically using courier to such and such address, and that just means any mail in that folder will do that, right? And that's good in situations where you might have for business, maybe you're actually getting everything automatically scanned, but then you want to actually archive the hard copy somewhere. So maybe once a month you actually forward that to your accountant for storage or something like that. So that's the rule screen. We spend a lot of time trying to make this easy, but it's funny. It's one of those things that everybody has different requirements. So if you ever have feedback about how we could improve the screen, do feel free to let us know. And that kind of concludes the mailbox area. That's where you'll spend most of your time. There's a couple of other things that I just wanted to point out. Obviously, we've got the billing and subscription stuff. So this is where you manage your credit cards. You've got transaction history, auto top up. So if once you have a credit card on our system, you can decide how much it tops by depending on how much money's left in your account. So you can set that to anything you want. Some people prefer having it a bit higher, so that means we bug you less and there's less transactions on your credit card. Some people prefer it lower, so they're really only just spending what they use. The service is prepaid, so so you always do require to have a little bit of credit in the account to process mail. In some cases, we will process things if the credit card's already loaded, with the thinking that we will be able to just debit that card as soon as that transaction goes through. Now you can view your transaction history and your GST invoices here. You can view your subscription here. There isn't one for this. This is a demo account. You can't actually view anything here. And this is how you can change between personal and business as well. And then obviously you've got the cancel account button here if you want to close the account. And that just closes it in a very orderly way, and is probably the best way to let it close. One feature we're thinking about bringing out is just putting that in the future, so you can actually choose, say, hey, close my account in 6 months time or something, so you can just set and forget it as well. But that's on our to-do list. And then the only other place that I'd like to just draw your attention to is the settings page. This is where you can just change the account contact details, security questions, password, that sort of thing. You can control your notifications here. This is whether or not you receive email notifications. Email shortcuts is a very cool and unknown feature, which means that if you get mail scanned, it can put a shortcut into your mail, into the email, that will let you send or destroy it directly from your email without logging in. So it's just a little bit of a time-saving technique. It depends on your workflow, right? What works for you. If you are getting stuff scanned to email, I do recommend you turning it on because it's very cool. I use it every day. But it's one of those things you kind of have to try out to see if it fits with your workflow. Under the integration tab, we're only integrating with Evernote at the moment out of the box. Messages is kind of the system messages that we generate. They're not normally important enough for emailing you, but it's kind of like a log of everything that happens on your account. And then account access. This is essentially just to allow PrivateBox to access your account. So you can imagine if you phone us and say, hey, how do I do this? It would be really great for us to be able to log into your account and actually see the same things that you can see. So without this, we can't view anything in your account. So this is the way that you turn that on. From our side, we can see some billing information, we can see address details and things like that, and which people are on the account, but we can't actually see the contents of your mail. We know what mail you hold, but yeah, I think probably the main thing we can't see is all the scans and your forwarding rules and things like that. And that's the way that you turn that on there. I think that's just about everything. I just thought I'd just speak a little bit about how different people might set us up. So, you know, if you're just using us to purchase something in New Zealand, you'll probably just, all you need to do is just complete the verification step as soon as possible, get this address, and then you'll get that parcel delivered to us. And then you'll just wait for that email to come out. You wouldn't need to do any configuration. If you're a grey nomad, someone who's spending their time living in their camper van quite a lot, it depends on how comfortable you are with everything, with setting up automatic rules. The one thing I'd say there is, regardless of whether you're getting things scanned automatically all the time or forwarded, I would recommend just, you know, having a calendar reminder just to log into your account once a month, just to view your mail and action it. And then that way you like, we charge storage, you get everything stored for free for a month, but there is a storage fee if something comes in, if you leave it here for a couple of months. So it's low, it's like 30 cents an item or something, but it can build up if you're on the road a lot and you haven't checked in for a couple of years. You might get a couple of hundred pieces, right, of mail. So you know, your storage fees are getting $20 to $30 a month. So it starts adding to the price a bit. The business users, I will just recommend you just turn on automatic scanning and email shortcuts. You just get that email into your you just get all the mail into your inbox. You can set up different rules for different people. So different people's mail goes into different folders, then you can email it to different email addresses. So, you know, George can get his mail into his email inbox. Accounts could get their mail into their inbox. That sort of thing. That's the best way to do it. And I would also consider turning on the automatic destroy as well, because then you don't need to worry about it. Automatic destroy sounds scary, but you know, you've got the digital copy, which is fine under New Zealand tax law to have a digital copy for any accounting records. And then our staff will, if there's something important in the item, we'll actually not destroy it automatically, and you'll get an email to say why we think it's important. For example, if it's got a check in it, or a bank card, or passport, or something like that, you know, driver's license, you know, the team won't destroy that, but they might miss something that you think's important, but we don't think's important. Like, you might have a handwritten note from your mum, you know, that has quite a lot of some value to you, but it just looks like another letter to us, right? So you do have about 7 days to undo that automatic destroy request. So if you do have you do find something and you have automatic destroy on, you want to make sure it's part of you're checking your emails at least once a week to catch anything that you think's important that we haven't thought important. And the other client type is probably enterprise-based clients, where that this functionality doesn't actually fit your workflow, that you need actually something more. So, for example, well, this is just not going to be a very interesting example. This is a letter scan test, but you can imagine if this was an application form, and perhaps you needed to pull some data off that form. Maybe it would be like application number or the person's name or something like that. If you need that kind of data extraction, then that's an additional service that we can provide larger clients when they need to do something a little bit extra, and we can actually build an integration into your back-end system. So it actually automates all the way through, and you just feel, you get that confidence knowing that anything that's getting arrived by mail, it's getting handled all the way through to whatever workflow that you need. So I think that's everything from me.
Cool.
Was there
That's great. Kyra, do you have any questions? Just while Gareth's in and about the inbox area and stuff.
Yeah, your audio has just gone a little bit wonky there, Charles.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe yeah, it's just but robot voice, that's all.
Oh dear.
That's all right. So as Charles was saying, I don't know if you heard him properly. Did you have any questions, Barbara, or anything at the moment?
No, not at the moment. I'll come back to you with one or two during the week.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah, and so Sarah, have you got any questions from the front line? You're dealing with customers every day. Have you got anything that you find people ask quite a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. So as office manager and I'm main customer service, I get all the inquiries from everybody. There's a lot of very commonly asked questions, so I've got a small list of those I'm happy to go over. The first biggest question I get is during application, people ask why we need the identity documents and the selfie video and things like that.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all part of our compliance with anti-money laundering legislation and law here in New Zealand. It's just a requirement that we are legally obligated to follow. If we don't, there could be criminal penalties for our company. We do get regularly checked and audited to make sure we are following that law. So every single person that signs up must follow the same rules. Otherwise, unfortunately, we can't provide a mailbox, and your application will be stopped if you don't get in touch with us within about 1 month.
And just on that, there's obviously the compliance stuff from the New Zealand law sort of point of view, but also just because it's a shared address, everybody's using the address together. We've got over 1,300 customers, but there's 3,500 people using our addresses and probably about 1,500, 2,000 businesses. So, if one person uses the address in an ill-mannered way, it reflects badly on everybody else. So, like there is the compliance stuff, but it's also just making sure everybody's good eggs as well. Like we want to make sure that we're all in it together. So that the verifications, it's a bit of a blunt tool to sort of like vet people, but when you don't know somebody, it's probably the best we can do.
Yeah, and along those lines, a selfie video just helps us see that your face matches the ID that's supplied, helps to weed out anybody that's trying to use stolen identity documents to get a fake address kind of thing. Although, really can't say we've ever seen that, but, just in case. The next common question we get is in regards to international parcel shipping. How much is that going to cost? We get a lot of people contacting us from overseas who want to purchase something here in New Zealand that can't ship internationally from the seller for whatever reason that might be. So yes, we can absolutely do that for you. You can contact us, set up an account to order the product you want. You can have it sent to us and we'll send it over internationally to any country in the world. For the most part, with very, very, very few exceptions for really small countries and things like that. Again, you just need to do the identity verification. Do check with us and make sure you've checked the New Zealand Post prohibited and restricted mail items list, just because some items do have restrictions on when they're being sent. If it's prohibited, things like weapons and organic matter like plants cannot be shipped. They are prohibited. Restricted items can be shipped but must be fitting with very specific requirements. For example, mobile phones, they contain lithium-ion batteries. They must be sent via international express courier. They will not be able to be shipped by any other postal method. Now, getting along to that is how much postage costs. That's the next most common question after that. Postage is calculated based on the size and weight of the entire bundle of mail or parcels that are being sent. When you request parcel forwarding or postage on our system, unfortunately, our system cannot give an accurate estimate in the system itself, just because our system can't work out what the measurements are going to be. So we always recommend contact our staff if you want a good quote. We will be able to get you the most accurate information about how much it will cost. For international shipping, for example, there are 3 postal methods. Airmail, which is the cheapest option, does not include shipping and it is the slowest. International courier EMS is just courier. It is economy courier, fully tracked, good service, good price. Express courier, there are some countries that only have express courier, but they're very, very few and far between. Express courier is often about twice the price of EMS courier. So we recommend only use express courier if it's an emergency or if you're shipping something like mobile phones. So yeah, the next question we get, maybe Gareth or Charles might like to answer this one, is what the differences are between all the different addresses that we can supply.
Yeah, you're muted, Charles.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say maybe because you wanted to do that.
Oh, your audio's gone a bit funny. Yeah. So I mean, the differences between our addresses. I mean, all the mail ends up in Wellington, right? So that's the main difference. If getting things handled as quickly and as fast as possible is important, then using the Wellington address is the best option. Otherwise, everything else gets kind of overnighted to Wellington, so it doesn't add too much time, except for Christchurch. The PO box there, it does only get cleared once a week. So that's the main difference. The important question you'd ask yourself is really, do I want a street address? And the answer is yes, you do. Or do I want a PO box? And 95% of our customers go for a street address. It just means that you can just use it for everything. Driver's license. You just use it for your general life, right? So I would just go for that. It doesn't matter if you use Auckland, Wellington, or Christchurch. Wellington's easier for us because we're here, but it doesn't. It's not about making our life easy. It's about what works for you.
Just along those lines, though, it is important to note that PO boxes often struggle receiving parcels or courier deliveries, so we do recommend using the street addresses for that reason. And also, the Christchurch street address unfortunately cannot receive parcels or sign for courier items or anything like that. So do use either the Auckland or Wellington street addresses for parcels and things like that, just for the best service you can. Couple of other questions that we get, not as often, but some that do come up, are things like, can you set up a bank account in New Zealand using the PrivateBox address?
Fantastic question.
It is a good question. Unfortunately, you cannot use our address to set up a bank account. You can use it as the postal address of the banks, but you can't claim us as where you're living or where you're based from in terms of setting up a bank account. Most banks do have an option for overseas customers, so do contact the banks, but
yeah, and that's the best thing to do. We actually have a page on our support site, particularly if you're still in the overseas. There is a number of ways that you can open a bank account from overseas, and normally it means going via your local bank for them to vouch for your identity with a New Zealand branch. So just jump over to support.PrivateBox.co.nz, do a search on opening a bank account, and you'll see the details on that.
Mm-hmm. And the only other one that I can think of that would be really good to know right now is how to delegate PrivateBox account and administrative access. So business customers in particular, they may have more than one staff member who are managing the account, and they'll want to contact us to get information, to do administration and that kind of thing. By default, only the main account holder has access to do any information or administrative inquiries. So if you do want to nominate someone else, the best thing is to have the account owner send an email through with written authorization to say that somebody else can discuss the account. And it has to come through from the same email address used to set up the account. There's a few other points in regards to that and doing the settings, but Gareth, you might like to.
Oh yeah, we talked about that before. I think I just need to share my screen again. So just under, sorry, let me just get this going again. Can you see my screen there?
Not at the moment. Ah, here it comes. There it is.
So I've just jumped through to the settings screen here, and then like we did cover it before, but under the account access here, you can grant PrivateBox access to your account, and yeah, that's one of the ways that we can log into your account on your behalf to look at things. Yeah.
That's especially helpful for people who are grey nomads or away from internet access. If you can't get on the internet to do or mail forwarding requests or setting up your rules, you can contact our team via support. And if you've got that access set up, you can then ask us to set up any automatic rules and administration that way. So that's a nice, easy way just to make sure that we can get your mail working for you however you want it to be.
Cool. Yeah, and so just to expand that support, the support at PrivateBox.co.nz, our phone number is 0800 122 335 in New Zealand. If you're calling from overseas, it's +64 4831 1333, and that will come through to us. So is that the end, guys? Have we made it?
Yeah, I think so. Did you have any questions pop up during any of those last points there, Barbara?
No, that's fine. Thanks.
Cool. And yeah, did you just want to wrap up, Charles?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Barbara, probably, we do have a few grey nomads and some other boaties using PrivateBox. Probably what may be useful for you, there's quite a lot in that presentation. So a couple of things that I'd highlight would be using the Parcel Collect. We find a lot of grey nomads find that really useful for domestic mail forwarding in New Zealand.
Yep.
So, and that, I don't know if you can show it now, Gareth, but when you go into that, it'll show a map of the locations nearby you.
Yep.
And then, and that map updates daily with all the locations that we can send your mail to.
Perfect.
And when you do it with that process, you get email notifications of where the mail is along the journey. So it'll tell you when it's ready to be picked up. And the main thing that you do need to know when using this part is just the receiver's name. So Gareth's put in his name. You do need to put in the person who's going to pick it up, because when you get to the countdown or the Z service station or wherever it is, they'll ask for some photo ID. And so the name on the photo ID needs to match the person who's going to pick up that mail. But we find that's the most reliable way of getting mail to people. We do have a lot of people in camper vans, and sometimes they can forward mail to the the grounds that they're at or something like that. But with standard mail in New Zealand becoming a little bit more hit and miss, we find the Parcel Collect is just a lot more solid because it uses the courier post system.
Yeah, and to encourage people to use it, we don't have any handling fees on it as well, so it's just the price of the courier bag. So I mean, even though the estimate's a bit wild there, starts at $4.80 to $19. $19 is a very big courier bag. It's like line flow, and it's overnight anywhere in New Zealand, and it's tracked, right? So for most mail, you'll be finding it'll be between $5 and $8 to get all your mail sent. And the reason we just wanted to encourage people to use the service. So it is a bit cheaper if you're using it for courier items. If you're just sending it via standard post, that is probably the cheapest way. But then you're into the excitement of New Zealand Post, networked mail, and that's some.
Got that right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has got worse, right? So anytime we can do discounts around courier packages or offering those bags. See, it's funny, it's a cat and mouse as well, right? Because the more people use it, it means we can buy it at a more of a volume. So it means we can offer it as a greater discount as well. So it's not comparable yet to normal mail, but it's comparable, especially once you've got more than a couple of letters, because we have handling on the standard mail. If you're sending more than 2 or 3 items, it's normally much better in a courier bag.
And for the few dollars extra it does cost the courier, it does give you that guarantee of where the mail is because of the tracking, as well as how long it's going to take. Like, I think the longest it will take is generally 48 hours during the week if it's a really rural area. Whereas standard post, we're finding it's regularly taking anywhere up to 2 weeks or even up to a month in certain situations for mail to be delivered via standard post. And it's just getting a bit too frustrating. So we do recommend use courier whenever you possibly can for mail in New Zealand.
And with all the hangover from COVID-19 as well, like they've been working their butts off trying to get all the backlog out. And this affects international clients as well. Where some countries still aren't receiving international mail, so there is there's a lot of delays out there. So having the item tracked will help. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool. Oh, well, I think we'll wrap up there. So thanks everyone, and thanks Barbara for joining us. And yeah, if you have any questions in the future, feel free to sing out. We're available on email or on the phone.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And thanks, Sarah, for all your help setting me up.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, thanks, Barbara. Hey, cheers,
Okay.
guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.